What was the most horrific game of Truth or Dare you've ever played? When I was in 6th grade, I dared to let these 3 girls tie me spread eagle to the bed, clothed, and do anything they wanted for 10 minutes. I thought they would do something sexy. Instead, they spent the next 10 minutes dropping different objects onto my nuts from varying heights. One girl dropped a heavy tape dispenser on me, which made me cry. Story 2. My girlfriend and I took a set of Jenga blocks and etched in the word truth or dare into the blocks, and a number that corresponded with either the truth sheet or the dare sheet. Each sheet was a list of truths or dares. All of them mildly humorous on paper, but devastating in reality. Questions like, when was the last time you faked it? And if you can't recall, fake one now. Or, what's the strangest thing you've ever pleasured yourself with? If nothing unusual, smell the finger of every person in the group and describe the smell. Dares like, demonstrate your favorite position with the person on your left. Or, let me tattoo your right thigh. I have almost no tattoo experience. Among the truths and dares, there were 5 group choices in each category. Any truth or dare could be declined by a shot, and if anyone intentionally knocks over the tower, they have to lick the left nipple of all the same-sex players until the nipple is erect. Loser has to take a shot and do a group choice dare. This game nearly broke up 3 couples. The questions were too real, too raw, resulted in people walking out of the room, but at the same time it was like a train wreck. They kept coming back. At first, you declined so many of them by taking a shot, but after 7 shots, you're answering what the sluttiest thing you've ever done was right next to your girlfriend, who decided to answer truthfully the last time she faked it. It was brutal. Everyone ended up naked and in the snow. All relationships are still intact, but in the way that people who survive a disaster sometimes stay in touch. Story 3. Playing in a group of girls, all around 13 to 14 years old. The most kind-hearted girl there with the sweetest face, cute little curls and freckles, is dared to take a dump on a plate in front of the rest of us. No hesitation, she just giggles. Okay, where's the plate? The girl whose house it was then proceeds to keep said plate in the basement freezer for a couple weeks, for science, until her mom found it. I don't know if they kept the plate. Edit for clarification. Occurs to me now that took a dump might just be an American colloquialism. It means she took a crap. Also, by no hesitation, I mean the daree did not hesitate to agree. It was a good 10 to 15 minutes of, oh man, are we really doing this? Followed by going upstairs to get a plate, giggling, and the girl starting in a corner with her back turned. I believe she did like a half poo on the plate and then went up to the bathroom to finish up and clean herself up. Some of us watched more than others. I think I got a glance for a few seconds and decided that was enough for me. I was also a teenage girl at the time, still a girl. I don't think she would have done this with any guys present. There is no good or psychologically sound reason to have kept the plate. Story 4. I was dared to climb a friend's apartment balcony in nothing but boxers and sneakers. I executed this task with top Spider-Man-like efficiency, until another inebriated friend stepped out and began to piss off the balcony, not knowing I was just below. Needless to say, my anti-piss instincts kicked in and I dropped 2 stories down into the parking lot. My profanities were heard echoing for miles around that night. Story 5. I got dared to answer the door and pay for the pizza we ordered completely naked. Whatever. Easy, right? The doorbell rings. I strip down quickly and I grab the cash to pay for the pizza. But the pizza guy was not waiting at the door. It was the mom of one of the girls at the party. She had come to pick her up early only to find me at the door, naked. Her husband was a church minister. The party ended pretty quickly when she called all the other parents and they came and picked up their kids. Good times. Story 6. I was playing Truth or Dare with a girl I liked on my trampoline when she dared me to eat a dandelion. One of the white nasty ones, the wind hadn't blown away yet. A couple rounds later, I dared her to kiss me. She said nope and made me come up with a new dare. I just ate a friggin' dandelion hoping I would get a kiss playing this game. The worst part? I was 24 when this happened. Story 7. I was tied to a chair and only my underwear covered in peanut butter and they put me about 6 feet away from the door and ordered a pizza. He wouldn't open the door when I was yelling at him that it was open. After about 3 minutes he finally did and was pretty terrified. I told him that the money was in the pocket of the jacket hanging up and that he could keep the change. He asked if I needed help, and I said, "Nah, my friends will come back eventually. I am just really hungry." The dude set up the pizza in my lap, which I thought was okay until he left and it started to burn real bad. I was fine. My friends all came out of hiding after he left and just busted up laughing. There's a video of it somewhere. As it turns out, I would work at that same pizza place for about 2 years. The guy who delivered it worked there and didn't recognize me until I asked him about his weirdest delivery story. I laughed for a while and told him it was me and I did it because of a dare. He didn't really look at me the same ever again. Story 8. It wasn't a game of truth or dare, but something kinda like it. You put one person in the middle of a ring of people and they ask questions to the people around them. The goal of the game is for the person in the middle to guess the rules of the game. Everyone else already knows the rules. So, the rules of the game are pretty easy. Rule 1, when asked a question, you answer to the best of your ability for the person next to you. Rule 2, if the person answering for you gets it wrong, you say BS, and the side that you are answering for reverses. Instead of answering for the person on your left, you go right. So, needless to say, things got strange right away. The girl in the middle was getting creeped out and confused. I remember she asked me, "How big is your dong?" And I answered for the girl sitting next to me, "I don't have one, duh." So she's getting really frustrated. Finally, she turns to her brother who is also playing. She asked him, "Have you ever had an intimate fantasy about me?" He takes a very slow look at the guy sitting beside him, turns back to her, and completely deadpan says, "I'm having one right now." We had to stop playing after that. Story 9. I was right at the beginning of middle school. We were starting to play Truth or Dare at birthday parties. We were playing a variation that I think in the US is called X Minutes in Heaven. Anyway, I think it was my turn for the heaven thing. I was so rooting for the beautiful girl I had a crush on. Instead, it gets to a really weird-looking girl that I wasn't attracted to at all. In my head, I'm really let down. This girl, I was not into her at all. Suddenly, the girl starts bawling and runs out screaming something along the lines of, "Not with him!" Ooh, yeah. Story 10. In Berlin, a friend of mine had to walk through a graveyard with his pants pulled down pretending to be a dog. The funniest thing was there was a couple sitting on a bench minding their own business when suddenly this stoned guy walks up to them and barks at them while having his pants down, went to a little well right next to them and started drinking water like a dog, then went back to them, barked again, and just sat there for 2 minutes staring at them. Eventually, he wanted to run away but fell over his own pants. Story 11. We, 3 guys and 3 girls, were all in the hot tub at this chick's house, and I got dared to go mash my dong up against her parents' bedroom window. Granted, it's like 1 a.m., and the whole house is completely dark, so I thought it would be no big deal. Got out of the hot tub, ran over to the window, dropped my suit, and smashed my junk up against the window for a few moments. Then, in the reflective light of the pool, I catch a glimpse of her parents sitting right inside the window, watching us from the inside. They didn't even blink. They just watched me. It was terrifying. Terrifying. Like, I saw them for a split friggin' second as the light passed over the glass, just inches away from my mashed up dong on the other side of the window. Something from a horror movie. I gasped and ran back to the hot tub, got back in, and just sat there in complete silence. Couple minutes later, her dad comes outside laughing. He hands me a beer and then reminisces with us for a few minutes about the crazy stuff he did when he was a kid. I've never felt a shock like I did when I saw their faces. It still haunts me sometimes, but it all turned out better than expected. I was 25. Story 12. There was this farm party when I was around 15 years old. Everyone was told to bring different types of alcohol or they'd regret it. Guess who forgot to bring alcohol? So the person who didn't bring any had to be subject to one dare. No backing out, no limits. Basically, I had no choice or say in the dare. I could only agree to do it. So, in the middle of the party, the host, the girl who's the same age as me, shouts that it's time for me to do the dare. She gets all her girlfriends together and they plan the most embarrassing, exposing, devious dare ever. You have to let us blindfold you, tie you up, and do whatever we want to you for 15 minutes. Here's what happened. It felt like they were putting cold water on me. They told me it was ketchup, mustard, and other stuff like peanut butter. Eventually, they started to get pervy ideas, and soon enough, my pants are being pulled off. I feel the cold water again, but on my dong. I freaked out mainly because they whispered to take pictures. I'll never know if they did, but it was embarrassing as hell. And I was really nervous of nudes circulating or something. Someone said, "We still have like 10 minutes left. What else can we do?" And I hear my friend's voice say, "Lick it off." I literally thanked God for his existence right then and there, because without him, I wouldn't have gotten head that night. Story 13. Not truth or dare, but a bad never have I ever story. Playing after prom my junior year when I made the horrible choice of saying, never have I ever cheated on anyone I was dating. One guy who was there with a friend drinks, and then it gets to a girl who takes a drink, who had been dating a friend of ours for years. We are all mouths agape at this point when she turns to him and says, we should probably talk. I felt like the biggest asshole ever. Story 14. My friend and I were chilling with these two girls. I barely knew either of them. He was the inside/wingman. Well, one of them is digging me throughout the night of chilling, so a game of truth or dare is initiated by my friend. Kissing and makeouts ensue. Good times. It gets horrific when her friend, who apparently knows all of her fantasies, dares me to tie her hands and feet up and dry hump her, while choking her with one hand. I'm not a coward, so I bound her hands and feet together with my belt, choke her a bit, and commence some dry humping, while my friend and this chick watched. I felt like I needed a shower afterward. Chick loved it, and we ended up getting it on later, but still. Choked a chick with my best friend and her best friend watching. Story 15. Decided to get drunk with my wife and another married couple. Started out as categories, then escalated to truth or dare. Both me and him ended up with our butts shaved by each other's wives, had our toenails painted, and our wives both were naked all night. And ultimately, 7 minutes in heaven with each other's wife. I spent so long blaming alcohol and having to tell my wife I regretted it. I enjoyed her friend. Story 16. At a party a while back, we were all 16 to 17 and were all getting drunk in my friend's barn conversion, which is away from her parents' house. We start playing spin the bottle, tame stuff, and everyone starts losing interest. However, the girls whose party it was and my friend do not lose interest, and they keep playing until they thought we'd all gone to sleep. Then, they proceeded to have the nastiest, loudest, and teeth-bashing, gropey, horrible banging you can imagine. 4 hours. I don't even know how, but we were all awake and we could all hear. It was so loud you couldn't sleep. Their looks of shame in the morning, though, ooh, they were worth it. This guy still gets crap for it a year later. Story 17. I have a Colt Walker revolver on my bookshelf. One night, some folks came over. We had a few drinks, we started playing Truth or Dare, and someone dared me to load a charge in the Walker and play Russian roulette. I guess he figured I'd pass? He didn't know I was suicidal, so I shot myself in the head and died. Kinda sucked. Story 18. When I was still in high school, we played Truth or Dare at a public jacuzzi, but we were young and horny, so we played a more adult version of Truth or Dare. So, 3 of my friends and 3 other girls who were all attractive. It was a win-win. It all started with me. One of the girls dared me to take some sugar, which she strangely had in her car, and lick it off her friend's tongue, who had not shown up to the party yet. I was stoked off life. I was betting this girl was going to be super attractive. 5 minutes later, she walks in. I quickly turned to check her out with a smile. My smile died quickly. She was extremely unattractive. Her breasts were in different directions, her face looked like a cow. She walks in and says, "Sorry, I was smoking a cigarette." They quickly inform her on the dare and she agrees rather quickly. I'm trying to stall time. I even called my dad to pick me up, but he didn't answer. Everything was set. She had the sugar on her tongue and was waiting. There was no getting out of it. I walk over and look at her mouth. I see her teeth are yellow and smell like cigarettes. I went in for the deed. She then breathed the most atrocious smelling breath I have ever smelt. The smell was so horrific, I threw up all over her. I quickly apologized and ran out of there. Story 19. Truth or Dare with 2 girls, 4 guys in a hot tub. One girl was dared to give all the guys a short lap dance. When she got to me, she stuck my dong inside her. I didn't stop her, but I'm pretty sure she put every guy inside of her. The game ended when one of the guys dared a girl to stick a finger in his butt. It got weird, and we all got out of the hot tub. Story 20. Back in high school, we were at a party, and the Truth or Dare we played turned sexual rather quickly, and one of the girls was dared to blow one of the jocks there. She agreed, and they went to a bedroom to complete the dare. All of a sudden, we hear a scream, and the girl comes out a few seconds later with blood all over her face. Turns out the girl had braces and somehow got caught on his junk, tearing a dime-sized piece of skin off of his dong. The other jocks at the party got to hold his buddy's dong while the ambulance came so he wouldn't bleed out. Fun times. Story 21. When I was about 10 or 12 or so, one of my friends had a big house and would throw infamous all-night sleepover parties for his birthday, where we'd do stuff like videotape our Wayne's World parodies or play with Nerf guns under blacklight, stuff like that. His parents had a hot tub in their bedroom, I know. So, one year we all wanted to get in. No one had a swimsuit because who puts a hot tub inside? So we all went in with our whitey-tighties on. We played Truth or Dare, all 5 or 6 of us boys. Nothing horny, so if you're disappointed, sorry about that. But the funny thing that leads up to this is our tradition of hazing the first guy at the party who goes to sleep. We had all removed our underwear to dry and went commando under our shorts, and one guy got sleepy and went to bed first. We put his wet underwear in the freezer, poking it with a fork every few hours to make it take the perfect shape. Around 7 a.m., we put the frozen underwear helmet on his head, put sunglasses on him, and put a Minnie Mouse umbrella above his head. Got the camcorder rolling as we woke him up and called it John's Day at the Beach. Story 22. I was ordered to play 7 Minutes in Heaven at a party as a dare, and they would pick the girl. I was blindfolded and placed in the bathroom. Minutes went by, but the guy who put me to it kept telling me to stay in there and be quiet. After some time, the door opened and I felt a body shoved against mine. It was a girl, I could tell, so we made out a bit. I started feeling her up and ran my fingers through her hair. It felt familiar somehow. I traced her arm and felt her watch. I touched the fabric of her shirt. It was my shirt. The girl was completely clueless, but I understood that the girl they had picked to get in there was none other than my big sister who was at the same party but not in the game at the time. And the others likely pulled her from whatever she was doing to do this. She was still into it though, ran her tongue in my mouth and squeezed my bottom. I pushed her away and ran out without a word. People were laughing hysterically outside and I felt devastated. She found out what happened and she made everyone involved, including me, swear not to tell anyone about it. She can be very aggressive and intimidating when she wants to be. Story 23. This is more horrifying for my sister than me, though I wasn't too happy myself. I played a game once when I was 10. No girls. We clearly didn't understand the purpose of the game. We mostly stuck to truth, asking questions like, who do you like, and have you ever stolen stuff? You know, dumb kid stuff. Then one boy, let's call him Martin, asked Donald, the street-rapping gangster/meteorologist, that is how he referred to himself, I kid you not, if he chose truth or dare. Donald chose dare. Martin, for whatever reason, dared Donald to strip down completely nude. We all shouted no, but Donald said he honored the dare and began stripping. He got down to his piss-stained briefs and just began to show some pelvic region when my 8-year-old sister came in the room to ask what all the screaming was about. She saw her first dong at the age of 8. Story 24. It was 2 years ago on a Saturday in late July at a now-closed gay bar in my town where my drunk, now ex-girlfriend had a great idea. She decided to invite herself and I, along with some dude named JR she just met that night, to our mutual friend Mitch's house, about 15 to 20 miles away for even more drinking. Of course, in Texas, you can't buy alcohol after certain hours due to blue laws or something, so she had the second fantastic idea of actually driving to the nearest gas station in Louisiana. I live in Beaumont, Texas, which is about 40 miles west from the Louisiana border. So we do that, we got liquor. Yay! Even though Mitch had some at his house, whatever, more alcohol. Now we're at his house. So we 4 play drinking games with cards for a bit. What could go wrong in this situation? GF wants to play truth or dare. Fun times can be had with this exciting game, my friends. She said something along those lines. We start. Typical truth or dare questions that aren't really worth mentioning. But now, the dares. Oh boy, the dares. This game was being played with 3 guys and 1 girl, with only me and JR being straight, and Mitch being more flaming than an attack by the Fire Nation. How much guy-on-guy making out do you expect out of this? Apparently, more than most independently produced soft-core gay adult films. I am semi-tipsy at this point, so I do it like 12 times. God damn, my ex loved daring me to make out with JR and Mitch. She also made me strip down to nothing and run through the house singing some song by Lady Gaga. I didn't mind the naked part, but I didn't really know any Gaga songs by heart, so I couldn't do my dare any fair justice. Oh well, they were satisfied with it, I guess. Now, of course, Mitch didn't mind all this crazy behavior from the dares. In fact, he was so drunk he thought of a brilliant dare to make my GF give both me and JR handjobs by any means necessary. She does this dare to me first, cause she knows I would be the easy one. She was right. Now on to JR. Now, all the rubbing and touching did nothing to this guy, so GF unbuttons his pants and goes for full contact handjobbing with some neck kissing and other stuff that pissed me off. After like 10 or so minutes, he cracked, so she was done. Or so I thought. After the last dare of the night involving her slapping my naked ass harder than Gallagher hitting any watermelon, this happened like 30 times. Which reminds me, my butt cheeks sure looked like the inside of a watermelon and felt swollen to the point of feeling like the mallet-prone fruit after the finale. Okay, we're done with that. We go back to her hotel room she was staying in for the weekend, and nothing special happened after that. She said it was just a game and I shouldn't be upset. Okay, sure, fine. The next night, her birthday night, by the way, she wanted me to go to the bar with her, but I had work in the morning so I couldn't go. I told her to have fun. I said I trusted her. So she went out with Mitch and happened to run into JR. Alcohol was consumed and they ended up doing the nasty in his car and his place. Next day, she calls me to confess, saying she slept at JR's place on his couch, and nothing happened. I believe her. One day later, she confesses the real truth to me because she doesn't want to feel guilty with the sin, and she wants to get closer to God. F truth or dare. I'm honestly past it now, but I have a ton of stories, so I guess that's a good thing. Story 27. A group of my friends and I were beyond bored, so we decided to do a game of truth or dare. Well, not really truth or dare, more like silent library. Whatever, same concept. So I drew a card midway through that read, "The person to your left will mix you a drink and you have to take a shot of it." I look to my left and sitting there is the most evil D-bag in my friend group. I say this lovingly. I stare at him and mumble, "Oh no." For good reason, too. I ended up drinking a shot of something containing more solids than liquids. It smelled like child abuse and genocide. After chugging this malt from hell, I threw up violently. Twice. I then later found out that my own brother pissed in it. My own frickin' brother.